don't think I have to spend too much time introducing our next speaker. He's been quite a stimulus and quite a leader for, we all have been saying, for the growth of this church. He's really deepened as well as expanded orthodoxy here in Prescott, and that's his goal as well as it should be and is our goal. And I think he lives by what he says. We've been very blessed for 3 years almost now. It'll be this April, close to a week before Easter, I think it was, for Pascha, when Father John started. We all know he's been very approachable. He's been there for us, and he's guided us. We're blessed to have him, as well as Presbytera. They've been, as like I said, they've ignited, they've blessed the church not only with beauty, but with, enriched it with faith and experience. So without, I don't want to build you up too much. Father John's going to give his address next, and God bless you, Father John. We all appreciate what you do in church.
Well, as I was thinking carefully about what I wanted to say, I realized that with the years when I've had vacation, other priests have come up here, I've come to a very important realization. And it's very humbling, and that is that the priest is entirely replaceable. The priest's wife is absolutely irreplaceable. When Deborah's not in the choir, it's not the same. When I'm not at the altar, it's interesting. It's not so bad. Anyway, the reason this parish has prospered, let's face it, most of you have attended my new member class. The first class I ask everybody to take, whether they're Orthodox or not Orthodox, before you start into entrance into the church. And I tell you all the same thing, so most of you have heard it. We don't expect anything from you that is not expected from Christians in the Bible, but we do expect that. And by trying to do things as much as possible according to the Holy Scriptures, this place has really prospered. Every parish has concentric circles of commitment, and this parish is no different, but there's a lot of love here. And that's what has provided the impetus to do things that are very difficult. Several years ago, we started off with a strategic planning initiative, trying to identify specifically what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. Now, it's one thing to talk about the Great Commission. It's another thing to talk about putting it into action here and now. This is our vision statement. We actually came up with a vision and a mission and a purpose statement. And we have them on our website. At St. George Orthodox Church, we love God, worship and glorify Him in spirit and in truth, and love our neighbor as ourselves. We are committed to evangelism and transformation of every soul in our regional area. That's a big job. And it doesn't happen at Miracle Crusades. It happens one-on-one. And that's been the success of our mission, is reaching out and loving each other one-on-one. I grew up in Detroit, I went to seminary in Alaska, and I've been bounced around the country. Father Andrew told the story of my coming here, left out some funny details, funny on my part, but I'll promise I'll fill them in at the end. It is kind of a miracle that I ended up here, but it's really due to Father Andrew's persistence and belief that somehow we were supposed to play a part in this together, and I'm really grateful for that. Father Andrew has vision and spiritual gifts for which, again, I'm grateful for. And his wisdom set the foundation with the early members of this church, which makes it so easy to build on. What's on the next slide? All right. We've decided to call this Crossing the Bridge to Our Future. I believe that the commitment to cross this bridge is crossing the bridge to our future. I was going to say that no part of this facility is adequate any longer. The altar is too small. We can't fit everybody in it, so they step into the side rooms, as you know. The side rooms now are too small for all the altar service we have. We don't have room for the choir. We don't have room for fellowship. We're constantly putting our children in. If you haven't been downstairs to where we have to have classes, please go down and look. We're fitting 20 children into a room that 6 children wouldn't be comfortable in, where there's exposed insulation. Believe me, it's not a happy thing for us. But I did find one thing that is adequate still in this church, and that's this stand right here. The reader stand still works really well. Plenty of room for it. But honestly, nothing else is adequate anymore. Our church has grown to over 80% capacity with an average Sunday attendance of actually over 80 parishioners, not including children. This is an old rule in church growth, and it's a little more complicated than it sounds, and I promise I'll make it short. Basically, the idea here is once you have 80% of your seating capacity, people stop coming back. That's true, but there's a little more to it than that. Statistically, and these are hard statistics from Christianity Today, the Alban Communion Journal, and lots of other church growth journals, it's not actually seating capacity. It's comfortable seating capacity. Now, what that means is 25 to 30 inches per person. None of you are sitting in 25 to 30 inches right now. Which is why when people come in and they see all the rows in front, or they see a couple seats next to you, they don't want to sit. They want some room. And it's not because we all have massively expanding waistlines. People just want a little bit of space. That means that we're operating way over 80% of our comfortable seating capacity and have been for over a year now. So we're a little behind in trying to catch up with this, but this rule is kind of a hard rule, and especially when you look at what the statistics say about it. It's 80% of comfortable seating capacity. So as comfortable as our padded chairs are, they're not sufficient unless you've got a chair on either side of you. We would like to purchase a commercial building now to accommodate our growth for the next 5 years. The reason we'd like to purchase, Raymond will go into in a little bit, but basically it's actually cheaper for us to buy than it is to rent. And as you know, the parish council labors very hard to be responsible stewards. First of all, as we've said before and we say constantly, 10% of what we take in as our annual budget goes to local and regional charities, off the top. Last year we actually exceeded 10% in our charity outreach. So that's how we start that. Secondly, for the last several years, in spite of the deteriorating economic situation, particularly here in Yavapai County, we've actually taken in more than we budgeted because we budget conservatively, and we've spent less than we budgeted because we spend conservatively. The people on your parish council are exceptionally responsible. Everything is transparent, everything is up front, and we're not spendthrifts. We're very, very concerned about being good stewards of that which has been brought to us. This is part of that understanding of good stewardship, not wasting opportunities. That's the next section. We want to grow our membership and donor base from what we have last year was 50 stewards to 100 stewards. That is 100 pledging households. So that we do have the opportunity actually to build a permanent location. The first of hopefully many permanent locations here in Yavapai County. As you know, there are currently 120,000 people in this area. More than enough for several Orthodox churches. And that's our plan, by the way. Next. Finally, as I said, the goal is to build on the land after we have fundraising and stewardship to support Phase 1. Phase 1 is to build the fellowship hall on the land that we have, and that's about an $800,000 commitment. There's a lot of grading and preparation that has to be done on the land, and to build a fellowship hall that will accommodate not only the current footprint of our congregation comfortably, but actually allow for continued growth. This is the figure that's been not bandied around, but actually researched, so that again, we want to under-promise and over-deliver at every stage. Okay, next slide. All right, obstacles to growth. Our current seating capacity is very limited. You all know when we reach 70 people on Sunday, because there are people standing and milling around, and none of it is comfortable seating. We have one restroom, and everybody knows when you use it, because they all have to walk up there. Just close the door, that's all. We do not have a kitchen. We don't even have a sink. Everything we do without a sink. Even down in the garage area where there's running water, it runs into a pail. It doesn't actually run into a drain. There is no separate fellowship area. When the weather is nice, of course, we go outside. When the weather is not nice, we do not go outside. And we have to sort of break everything down, which is why it takes so long to clean up after fellowship hour. And I'm exceptionally grateful to those of you that stay to help that out. Many hands make light work, and you have made it light work. And it's something I appreciate very much because I get here early every Sunday. Inadequate classroom space. As I said, we're putting 20 children in the garage. And there's more children coming. And that's just counting the families here, not the ones that are coming soon. This is important. When people ask, do you have programs for your children, we always say yes, but we never show them. Please go downstairs and please just look for yourself. That's all I ask. It's open. Walk through the area that is my office and see where we have to put those children. We put sheets up so they don't see all the storage. And I'm exceptionally grateful to Jenny Gusty and Bonnie Winters and Laurel Frisbee who spearhead this program. They do a lot of work with not very much room, and it's very, very difficult. And as somebody who's been involved in Christian education for 35 years, I'm telling you, it's very, very difficult in their circumstances. Finally, in a couple of months, you will find out, for those of you that aren't aware, we don't have sufficient cooling in our building. The bishop who ordained me, Bishop Innocent of blessed memory, used to tell us, you're not really praying unless there's sweat running down the middle of your back. Well,
we're praying.
We are really praying come June. We have the fans. We finally got them to go less than 8,000 RPM, but still it's not sufficient. And finally, our lease is up next month. We've actually asked for an extension to take us to June so that we can find and relocate and prepare for a future home, a place that's adequate, not only for our current footprint, but for the growth which we anticipate, because we have a loving community of people who want to hear and live the gospel. And you can't ask for more than that as a Christian church. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Callie, who's responsible for an exceptionally patient putting together this PowerPoint presentation.